Hello everyone, welcome back to Linux for Noobs. Today's video is going to be very special because we are going to learn how to install Arch Linux. Throughout this video, I will explain every step thoroughly, not just what to do, but also why you need to do it and what could happen if you don't. Just a quick disclaimer, this will be a long video and by the end of it you will have a clear understanding of how Arch Linux installation works. So without wasting any time, let's open up the Arch Wiki. So I'm gonna open up my browser and search for Arch Wiki, and I'm gonna click on the first link. Now if you ever asked someone for help with Arch, you have probably heard just read the wiki. And while that's true, but for a beginner it can be overwhelming, especially if you don't yet understand how Linux works. I mean, if I was able to understand what the wiki means, then I wouldn't be asking for help in the first place, right? So that's exactly why I am making this video. So as we go through the installation process, you will understand what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, so we have opened up the wiki and we will use the Arch Wiki as a guide. And the first thing, obviously, we need to download the ISO, right? I'm gonna click on the installation guide right here, click on it, and then there are steps how to install the Arch Linux. We will come to this later. First we need to download the ISO file. Okay, so you need to click on this right here, acquire the installation image, click on the download link, and then you can use torrent in order to download it, or you can just use the nearest mirror of your country if your country is not listed. So since I am from India, I will check. Let's go with the first one. Okay, so there are two files for each and every ISO. The other one is signature. We will come to that later. So I'm gonna download the first, this one, click on that. The installation will begin, and then I'm gonna download the signature file, the SIG file for the same ISO to verify it. Okay, so let's go back to the wiki. Okay, alright, so the first step, it says here verify signature. So what does that mean? There are two things. The first one is verifying the signature and the second one is verifying the hash. The reason why we need to do this, because since we are downloading the ISO, we need to make sure that ISO which we are downloading is the original one and it is not tampered with. For example, if you send a letter to someone, you put a seal on the envelope. If the seal is broken, you cannot trust the content inside the envelope, right? Similarly, if the ISO is tampered with, you cannot trust the ISO. Therefore, we need to verify it first. In order to do that, we're gonna use the signature file which we have downloaded along with our ISO. Another thing you need to make sure is that if we go to the download page again, you have to download the signature file for the same ISO. So if you try to, for example, you need to match the dates and they have to be the same. The only difference would be the signature file will be followed by .sig. So you can see for the other files as well, there is a signature file to verify their ISO. But here comes the twist. How do we know that this signature file which we are using to verify the ISO is not tampered with, right? So if we are downloading this ISO which is not original, how would we make sure that the signature file which we are using to verify that ISO is original? In order to verify that, we are going to use a software called GPG for Windows. The steps to verify that on Linux would be different. Since I am on Windows, so I will be showing you how to verify the signatures. So we're going to type GPG for WIN and click on the download link, download this software. You don't have to make any donation, just click on 0, then download. So the download has been begun. Okay, so we have successfully downloaded the software. Now I'm gonna open it up and install it. Okay, so we have successfully installed it. Let's open it up. It's gonna look something like this. So we need to verify the key first. I'm gonna click on decrypt verify right here. Then I'm gonna select my file, the signature file right here. I'm gonna open it up. So if you click on the audit log, you can see here it has given me a string using EDDSA key. Then this is the key. Now I need to match this key whether it is original or not. For that, I'm gonna go back to our Arch Wiki and I'm gonna find one of the developer. Let's go to homepage. People, click on under the people there is a developers option, click on that. So these are the Arch Linux developers and these are their public keys. So I'm looking for Pierre Schmidt. Here he is. So this is his public key and I'm gonna match this key with the key which I have downloaded. So this is 3E80CA. I'm gonna copy this, copy, and notepad, I'm gonna paste it here, Control V, and then I'm gonna copy this key right here, his key, and I'm gonna copy it and paste it so I can do a side-by-side comparison. As you can see, the keys are matching. That means our key is original, which is issued by Pierre Schmidt. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I apologize. Okay, so our key is good. Next thing we need to do, we need to verify the hash, the checksum. We do that in order to make sure that the file inside our ISO are not corrupted. So let's go back to installation guide and you click on checksum, right? You can see here SHA256. So we're gonna use this one. We need to match this one. So I'm gonna copy this one. Okay, Control C. Just like we did with the rings, we're gonna match the hash as well. So on Windows, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open up PowerShell. Then I'm gonna type get file hash, and then I have to copy the path of my Arch ISO. This is where I have stored. I'm gonna copy this one, the path. I'm gonna paste it here, and then I'm gonna paste the name of the file, copy the name of the file, and then I'm gonna paste it here. Don't forget to put a backward slash before you paste the name. And the algorithm I'm gonna use is SHA256. Before we execute it, let's make sure there are no errors. Get file hash, then path of the file, then algorithm SHA256. Hit enter. Okay, so we have got our hash. I'm gonna copy this one and paste it in our notepad. And if I try to copy this one, Control C, then paste it here. I have to make sure. Okay, so they are matching. Yes, they are matching. Yes. Alright, so since we have successfully verified the integrity of our ISO, we can proceed with our installation. For that, obviously you need Rufus. I have already downloaded it, so I'm gonna just open Rufus. USB pen drive, which I have already plugged in, and it has successfully detected it. I'm gonna click on the select, then select my ISO, and here I'm gonna select GPT. I have explained this in the previous videos as well. If you are using BIOS installation, then you need to select MBR, and if you are using UEFI installation, then you need to select GPT. So my system support UEFI, I'm gonna select GPT here, and rest of the settings will stays the same. I'm gonna click on start. It's gonna erase everything on the pen drive, so you make sure that there's nothing important on the pen drive. Click on OK. Alright, our USB drive is ready. Now I'm gonna plug this in on the other device on which we are going to install Arch Linux. So be right back. Alright guys, we have successfully booted into our live USB. So now, since we are going to follow the Arch Wiki, I have Arch Wiki right here. I will show it on the screen so we can follow along. Alright, so we have pre-installation, we have done this, we have verified the signatures, and the next step is prepare the installation medium. We have done that. Boot into the live environment. This is where we are right now. So the next step is we need to set up the console, keyboard, layout, and font. I assume all the viewers who are watching this video, they all speak English as well, and English keyboard is the default, so I don't have to do this. So I'm gonna skip this one. So can you, if you speak English or use English on your computer. Okay, it says to verify the boot mode. That means you need to make sure whether your system support UEFI or BIOS boot. So in order to do that, it says here I need to type that command. It says 64 here. As you can see in the guide, it says if it returns 64, that means your system is 64-bit and it support UEFI mode. And if it return 32, that means your system is 32 bits and it also support UEFI mode. If you do not see any output at all, or if you see that there's no such file or directory, that means your system is booted into the BIOS mode. So this is how you can make sure. And since it has returned 64, that means my system support UEFI, so I'm gonna follow those steps. All right, the next step is to connect to the internet. So first I can check whether my internet is working or not. For that I can try to ping Arch website. Okay, so the internet is not working. I'm gonna fix it. So if you are using Wi-Fi, then you need to connect. You can use Wi-Fi. If you are using Ethernet, then you need to use the 0.4. So I will be using Wi-Fi, then I will be using IWCTL. Okay, so IWCTL, hit enter. I want to check whether it has successfully detected my Wi-Fi card or not. So I'm gonna type device list. Okay, so that is my Wi-Fi card name. So the next step I'm gonna do, I'm gonna station, then my device name, WLAN 0, then I'm gonna type get networks, hit enter. Okay, so it has shown me the available networks. The second one is mine, which is net plus Jarvis, so I'm gonna connect to that one, and to connect to that I'm gonna type connect, then the name of the network. You need to type the name of the network within double quotes, so make sure you do that. Net. Okay, so it's asking for the password. Okay, so we have successfully connected to the Wi-Fi. I'm gonna exit, then I'm gonna clear this up. Let's see whether we can ping the arch. Okay, it's working. So in order to stop the ping, you need to press Ctrl and C. All right, so we have our network internet up and running. So the next step is we need to update the system clock. For that, we're gonna type time date ctl, and you need to make sure that the date is today's date, and the time could be slightly different. That is no big deal, but the date should be correct one. If it is not, then you need to type set NTP true, put a hyphen. Okay, so the NTP here is the network time protocol. It's gonna sync to the internet to fix the clock. So if your date and time is wrong, you can use this command. Okay, I'm gonna clear this up. All right, so the next step is to partition the disks. So in the Arch Linux guide, they are using the fdisk tool. However, I think cfdisk is much more intuitive, especially for the beginners, and I think it is much more user friendly, I would say, than fdisk. So I would recommend you to use cfdisk. However, if you want to do the exact or follow the exact same steps as given in the Arch Wiki, you can do that as well. So the process will be more or less the same because our goal is the same. So they have given the instructions how to use the partitioning tool. You need to type fdisk devices, then disk to be partitions. So if you get confused, if you don't know what this means, so basically I'm gonna type lsplk. It's gonna list all the storage devices which I have. So as you can see, I have SDA. So SDA is my hard drive, which is 500 GB. Hard drive is very slow, so this is my storage device. So I will not be installing the Arch Linux on this one, so I can completely ignore this device. The second device is SDP, as you can see, and it has 119 GB of space on which I will be installing the Arch Linux. And the third one is SDC, which is our live USB, which is plugged in. Everything will be done on SDP. All right, before you follow any of this process, you need to back up all of your files. Otherwise, if it is possible, you can remove all the other storages if it is possible. Otherwise, you can make a note so you don't mess up anything or end up losing your precious data. So okay, so my device is SDB. I have successfully identified. So this is the device SSD on which I will be installing my Arch Linux. It's SDB. Okay, so if you're using fdisk, which I will not be using, so I'm just telling you how to use it. Fdisk, then slash devices, then slash SDB. So since I will be using cfdisk, so I'm gonna type C here. Okay, so you can skip these as well. If you're not using any encryption or virtual machine, then you can skip these steps. So okay, so this is the layout for the UEFI system, and this is the partition layout for the BIOS MPR. Since my system support UEFI, so I will be following this. All right, so I need 3 partitions. The first one is for boot, which is EFI. The second one is swap, which is optional, and the third one is the root partitions. I will be following this exact layout. I have already typed the command. I'm gonna hit enter. So if you don't know what we are doing exactly, we are basically dividing our SSD into 3 parts. One is small part, which is 1 GB. The second one will be 4 GB partition. The third one will be the remaining space. So we are dividing our SSD into 3 different parts. Okay, so I'm gonna type cfdisk devices, add STB, hit enter. Okay, so you're gonna see something like this. So if you cannot see, let me move this. Give me a moment. For the time being, I'm gonna make this smaller. Okay, so here you need to select GPT. Then you can see it is showing there free space. Okay, so at the bottom you are seeing 5 options: new, quit, then help, write, and dump. So I'm gonna select new, hit enter, use enter, and now you need to select the space. At the bottom you can see file size. The first partition is 1 GB, so either you can type 1G for 1 GB, or you can type 1024 MB. So whichever I think 1G is convenient, so 1 GB. Then I'm gonna hit enter. So I have STB1, which is my EFI partition, the first partition. Okay, so if you see here, right here in the file type, it's a Linux file system. However, it is not the file system, it is the EFI partition, so I need to change that. So now you need to select type. In order to navigate these, you need to use your arrow keys, and you need to select type. Then you need to select the EFI system, the first one, hit enter. So now we have the first partition. For the next partition, you need to select free space, then hit new, and this is our swap partition. So I'm gonna type 4 GB as instructor on the Arch Wiki. You can see right here, at least 4 GB swap partition. So we are using 4G. Okay, so then you need to hit enter. Again, you need to change the type. This is our Linux swap. Select Linux swap, then hit enter. So now we have the remaining space, which we will be using for our system, for our root partition. I'm gonna click on new, remaining, hit enter, don't change anything. And then this is Linux file system. So now we have 3 partitions: STB1, STB2, STB3. First one is for EFI, second one is swap, STB3 is our root partition. You can make a note of it if you are following this tutorial, or if you are installing the Arch for the very first time. Okay, so we need to save these changes. You need to select write here, write, hit enter. Now you need to type yes, then hit enter. Now the changes has been saved. Now you can quit. Select quit, hit enter. Alright, so let's check. Type lsblk again. Now you can see we have under STB we have 3 partitions: STB1, STB2, STB3. Alright, we are good. Let's see what we got next. So now we need to format these partitions. So the first one was the EFI partition. Okay, for that I need to use FAT32. I'm gonna type make, let me clear this first. I'm gonna type mkfs, which is for make file system, then dot fat, then f32. This should be hyphen, not underscore, my bad. Then devices, it was STB1. Remember, this is our EFI partition. So if I hit enter, alright, so the next partition is our swap partition. So for that I'm gonna type mk make file system make swap, and it was devices STB2. This was our swap partition. Hit enter. Okay, so the last one was our root partition. I will be using ext4 file system on the root partition. So for that, I'm gonna type mkfs make file system, then .ext4 on devices stb3, then hit enter. So now we have successfully formatted all the drives. Okay, I'm gonna clear this up. Alright, so the next step is, after the format, we need to mount these file system. So if you are new to Linux, you might be wondering, what is mounting? Mounting basically connecting the storage at the right point. So in order to understand this, I would recommend you to watch my video how the Linux file system works. So in that video I have explained all the folders in detail and what is their purpose. So in Linux, everything is a big folder which is called the root. Inside this root folder we have everything else, our devices, our files, everything else is inside this big folder which is root. So MNT is like a, you can think of it as a front door to a big house. So you can enter this house, exit this house. So MNT is a mount point which we use especially for the installation and do some maintenance if something goes wrong with our system. So MNT, you can think MNT like a point where we can find our partitions or the storage devices. So mounting is like linking. Alright, so I'm gonna mount devices. So you can see it says here root partition, so you don't have to type root partition. This is like a value. So our root partition was stb3, remember? So stb3 and stb3, and I'm gonna mount it at MNT. If I hit enter, so it has been successfully mounted. And the next one we're gonna mount, so okay, so now we are at MNT. Here I'm gonna create a folder. So in order to do that, I'm gonna type make directory mkdir mnt boot, hit enter. So now we have created a folder in the root partition. Okay, so now we're gonna mount our UEFI partition, which is stb1, right here on mnt boot. So for example, if I go into my root folder, then my boot folder, I will find a bunch of files. But when I mount my stb1 in the boot folder, then if I open my root folder then boot folder, I won't find the files inside my boot directory. Rather, I will be teleported to the stb1, which is our UEFI partition. So UEFI partition will overlay on this path, which is our boot path. So every time you open up the boot folder, it's gonna open up the stb1. So that's what it means when we mount the stb1 on boot. I hope I made it clear. For that, I'm gonna, so here if you see in the arch in the guide, they have done these two processes in one single command. So I just broke it down in two parts, so you can follow whichever way you want it. So for mount, so I have already made the directory, so I'm not gonna do that again. So I'm gonna mount devices UEFI system partition, which is stb1, and this will be mounted at mnt boot. So every time you run a command during the installation, make sure that you spell it right, because if there is any spelling mistake, it's very difficult to undo the changes, especially if you are a beginner. Then in some cases you have to start the whole process all over again, because the troubleshooting will be so much time consuming. So before pressing enter, make sure you have typed everything right. So I'm gonna hit enter. Alright, so remember we made a swap partition, we have to mount that as well. For that, swap on and root devices. So our swap partition was STB2. I'm gonna hit enter. Okay, so the next step is we need to select the mirrors. So for that, they have suggested us to use this file, etc pacman mirror t-list. So what I'm gonna do, I'm not sure whether I have Nano. Nano is a file editor, if you don't know. etc. Okay, so we have opened up the mirror list, so you can see a bunch of mirrors, the servers which we can use to download our packages or download our Arch system. So the way it works is the mirror which is on the top will be used first, and then the subsequent mirrors will be used. So make sure you have the fastest mirror at the top. Okay, so if you don't know, for example, if you don't know how to have the fastest mirror on the top, you can use this tool which is called reflector. So I'm gonna open this in a new tab. So here you will find how to use reflector. Okay, so even if you're still not sure, all you can do is you can click on this mirror servers, click on this link, and then you will find a bunch of mirrors here. So you can copy this, not copy exactly, because you can type this mirror right here at the top here, so that you can have the fastest mirror. So this is a worldwide mirror, so I assume it will have decent speed. If you want to use reflector, you can use that well. If you type reflector help, it will show you a bunch of options which you can use to find the fastest mirror. So I'm gonna skip this one because the video is gonna be longer for no reason. If the download speed is slow, then I will use the reflector. Okay, so the next step is, let's go back to our installation guide. I'm gonna go back. Okay, so we are done with the selection. We are done with the mirror selection. We need to install essential packages. So you don't know what are essential packages, right? They have given here 1, 2, 3 packages. The base is for the base Arch Linux, the Linux is for the Linux kernel, then we have the drivers for our hardware, which is Linux firmware, right? So what I usually do personally, I install some other packages as well, like sudo, I install network manager. So the pacstrap here is the, like, you can think of it like a bootstrap version of pacman. Remember the pacman? So pacman is like the package manager in Arch, like we have apt or dnf in Ubuntu or Fedora. So pacstrap, then we have k. So k here is for the keyring. So you can think of keyring like an ID card. So if you have a public library in your hometown, even it is openly accessible to the common people, you still might need to have an ID card to borrow books, right? Similarly, even the Arch packages and the Linux itself is open source. You need to have some sort of ID card in order to access the repositories. So that's why we are using the K flag here, because it's gonna copy that ID card from the live USB to our newly installed system, so we don't have to set up it after we are done with the installation. Then we are going to install in our root folder, which is mounted at mnt, remember? So the next is base Linux Linux firmware, and then I'm gonna install sudo nano vim network manager. I think we are good. Okay, so I'm gonna hit enter. Alright, we have successfully installed our packages. The next step we're gonna do is configure the system using fstab, which is for file system table. So basically fstab is like, it's gonna tell our system which partition should be mounted where after we boot up our system. For example, let's just say you have a house, right? There would be several rooms, so fs tells which person goes in which room, so something like that. Okay, so for that I'm gonna type generate file system table, genfstab u. The reason we are using u here is for UUID. This is very important. So for example, every storage has its unique UUID. For example, I'll show you. Type BLKIT. So you will see here UUID is equals to this big long value, right? So this is like the fingerprint of the storage or the partition. You can see here STB2 UUID, then STB3 it has its own UID, then STB1 has its own UID. So the reason why we use UID is because think of it like a fingerprint. So you can have two people with the same name, for example STB1, there could be another STB1, or if you unplug or plug something else, so the STB1 will actually change. However, the UID is unique, so that's the reason why we are using UID, to make everything error proof. Alright, so that's the reason we are using here U. So I'm gonna clear this up. I'm gonna type generate file system table -u, then mnt, then. So you might be wondering why we are using this greater than here. I'll tell you. So if you type, for example, if I type this, let me type the command first, then I will explain. So greater than, then mnt, then etc, then I totally forgot to make it bigger. This is really my mistake. So genfstab u mount. So the reason why we are using this greater than is because what it's gonna do is take output from here and save it right here in the fstab. So remember this, use one greater than to take output from the left side to save it on the right side with the override permission, and if the folder does not exist, they will create one. If you use two symbols, then it's gonna just add these values without overwriting the existing values. I'm gonna hit enter. Alright, so the next step is chroot, which is for change root. So now we're gonna step into our freshly installed system. So I'm gonna change my root from live USB to the new system, which is mounted at mnt. So I told you earlier, this is like a door. Now we are going into our freshly installed system to do the setup. I'm gonna hit enter. Now I am in the new system. Okay, and the first thing it shows here is to set up the time zone. For the time zone, I'm gonna type ln sf. If you haven't seen my video on hard links and soft links, I will suggest you to watch it. It's very useful. So USR share zone info. Okay, so after that you see here region, so you don't have to type region, you have to type your actual region. So for example, I am from Asia, I'm gonna type Asia, then my city, the time zone where the city from where your time zone is taken. Mine is Kolkata. I'm gonna type Kolkata. Then I'm gonna create this link to etc local time. Hit enter. Alright, so the next thing is half HW clock system. Okay, so what it does, every system, whether it is a PC, a desktop PC or a laptop, they all have their inbuilt clock, which is powered by a small cell. So now we are going to synchronize that hardware clock with the system clock. So I'm gonna type HW clock. So for example, if you did not have that hardware clock in your system, then your system wouldn't remember the actual date. So every time you boot up, you will have wrong clock or wrong dates. So the reason why your system remember the dates and time because of the hardware clock. Okay, so we're gonna hit enter. Okay, so the next step is we need to, it says that in order to use the correct region and specific formatting types, we need to edit. For that, I'm gonna type, to edit this, I'm gonna type nano Okay, so you will see a bunch of options here like you are seeing. What I'm looking for is EN. So you will see all these symbols, they are languages if you look at it closely. So I am in the EN, which is for English. So in the English, you have a bunch of English options like Australia, Great Britain, Hong Kong, Ireland, Singapore. I'm looking for US right here. It would be EN US UTF-8. So this is the one I'm looking for. Now you need to delete this hash symbol. Okay, so now I have uncommented it. So what happens is all the lines with hash will be ignored when you execute this file, and all the lines which does not have hash in front of it, that will be executed. So in order to do that, the process of adding hash or removing hash is called commenting or uncommenting. If you put an hash, it means you are commenting it. If you remove the hash, it means you are uncommenting it. So if you see in the wiki, you will see here uncomment the UTF-8 locales. So if you want to use any other language, you need to uncomment the respective language. Now I have deleted the hash symbol, which you need to do, which means you are uncommenting it. I need to save these changes. I need to press Ctrl and O. Now I need to hit enter. Then to exit this, I'm gonna press Ctrl X. I'm gonna clear this up. Alright, so we have successfully uncommented the UTF locales. Now we're gonna run locale generation. Okay, so generation complete. So the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna need to save this thing in this folder. Okay, so for that I'm gonna use the command echo. Echo is like print echo en underscore us dot utf first I'm gonna run this command and I will see what the output I get. It's gonna output the same thing, right? And since I want to save this, the exact same thing, you can see I need to save this into this location. For that, I'm gonna use the greater than symbol. Remember, I explained this earlier. So I'm gonna save this in etc. It is written right here where you need to save it. locale.conf. So it will be saved here. Hit enter. All good. All right. So I don't have to set up the keyboard layout because my keyboard is English already. So the next is network configuration. I need to create a hostname file in the etc hostname, then your host. So I need to name, this is my hostname. You can whatever you want to call your PC, and then I need to save it right here. I'm gonna use the same method, echo. I'm gonna call my computer Jarvis and I'm gonna save it right here, etc hostname, then hit enter. Okay, sometimes when you boot up you might not see the correct name, so I'm gonna edit this file before I proceed to the next step. It is not mentioned here, I cannot see it here. Computer newly installed environment that may include suitable network management software. Okay, so what I do usually, I'm gonna nano etc hosts. If I hit enter, you will see something like this. So what you need to do right here under this, I'm gonna type this same address 001 which you're seeing above. Then I'm gonna give some space. I'm gonna type Jarvis, which is a name I have selected for my PC. Then local domain, Jarvis.local domain. Then I'm gonna give some space. Then I'm gonna type Jarvis again. So if you don't see your correct name, then you can edit this file, or you can do it right away just to make sure that it works. I'm gonna save this, press Ctrl O, hit enter. To exit this, Ctrl X. Clear this up. Alright, so we have successfully created the host name. Now we need to set up a password for our root. So you can skip this step again if you are not using any virtual machine or something like that. System encryption, you can skip this. I'm gonna jump to root password. To set up root password, type password. You need to remember this password. If you forget this, then that's gonna be a huge problem. So whatever your password you set, you need to type it twice and you need to remember this. This is your root password. The root password is different from the user password because we haven't created any user yet. We will do that after we successfully boot into the system. So the next step is bootloader. Now we need to install a bootloader. So I'm gonna click on bootloader and see what are the different bootloaders available. Okay, so we have Clover, we have EFI bootstub, and you can see what are the different partition table and firmware, like the file system they support. So the popular ones are grub if you are dual booting, or if you like to install distro hopping, then you should install grub. However, I will be using system dboot because it is compatible with UEFI. If you are using BIOS boot, then you should not be using system dboot because it does not support BIOS boot. Then you should install grub. So grub is like the most popular one, but because system dboot support UEFI and it is very simple to install and set up, so I will be going with this one, with the system D. So I'm gonna close this one now. Now I'll tell you how to install this. So the instructions are right here. if you can see, can only launch if Linux. So anyway, I'll show you how to install the systemd boot. Okay, you can just follow my steps. So I'm gonna clear this up first. So I'm gonna type boot serial install, hit enter. Alright, all good. The next step is we need to nano loader, then entries. Now you hit enter. So you will see a blank screen like this. Now we're gonna just type the exact same thing which I'm typing. So the title, so the title Arch Linux doesn't serve any purpose other than being a title. And the next thing we're gonna type is Linux, VM Linux, then hit enter. Then the next thing is init rd, init ramfs, Linux img. I need to say the UID value here, but since the UID value is very big, I will be using the appropriate commands and flags to get that exact value. For that, I'm gonna type echo. Let me clear this up first. Type echo, and inside I'm gonna type options is equals to root UUID is equals to $, then BLKID S. So the S here is like a label. So what kind of value do you want of your partition? And next is UUID O. So O here is for output. That means whether you want the full output, whether you want in a list format, or you want to export values. So I just want the value, the UID value. So I'm gonna type value here, and then I'm gonna RW, then double quote. Let's see what we get. All good. So as you can see, I can see the options is equals to root UID, then it sees I can see the UID number, right? So I'm gonna take this output of this command into the file which we saved earlier. Then use the greater than symbol. Remember, since I just want to add this one to already existing values, I'm gonna type double greater thans, and I'm gonna save it to our path, which is boot loader entries, then watch conf. Okay, if I open this up again, okay, so you can see here, right? Okay, so this one shouldn't be here. You just need the, there was a small mistakes here. So you see the option and root here, so that this is equals to should be here. So the options root is equals to this UUID. Alright guys, we have successfully booted into our freshly installed Arch system. I'm logging in with root, so I'm gonna type root, then my root password which I saved earlier, hit enter. Alright, we have successfully logged in into root account. So the first thing, I'm gonna see whether my internet is working or not. For that, I'm gonna use a tool which is NMTUI. Okay, so my network manager is not running, so first I need to start that. For that, I'm gonna type system ctl enable network manager. Okay, so network manager has been enabled. I need to start it. Start network manager. Okay, so now if I type NMTUI, alright, so I need to activate a connection. I'm gonna select activate a connection, then I'm gonna select my Wi-Fi, hit enter, password, hit enter, connecting. Okay, so I'm successfully connected. I'm gonna quit this, clear this. Alright, so the next thing we're gonna do is create a user. For that, I'm gonna type user add. We're using M to give a separate home space to our new user so that it can have its own personal home directory. And then I'm gonna add this into the group because I want to give it sudo permissions. Then shell bin bash, and my user will be Linux for noobs. So I have created this user, hit enter. Now I will create a password for this one. Noobs. Okay, so I have successfully created the password. Now in order to give him the sudo permissions, I have to edit the file. I will use nano to vsudo, hit enter. Then you need to uncomment a line. I will show you which one. At the bottom you will see here which says percentage wheel all is equals to all, this one, the first line. I will uncomment this, delete the hash, press Ctrl O, enter, Ctrl X. So now our user has sudo permission. So I'm gonna switch user su Linux for noobs. Okay, so now we are in Linux for noobs. So let's see whether our user had the sudo permissions or not. Type sudo pacman syu password. Alright, our user has the sudo permissions. It is working. Now you can install any desktop of your choice. Since I like Cinnamon, so I will be installing the Cinnamon desktop. So I'm gonna clear this one up first. So the first thing I need is to install the Xorg and Xorg server. So I'm gonna type sudo pacman s hit enter. There are two available repositories. I'm gonna select the first one, enter, y, enter. Okay, I'm gonna clear this up. So the next package we need to install is the Cinnamon. Since I like the minimalistic version of Cinnamon, so if you want all the bells and whistles, then you have to install some extra packages. However, the way I do it, I first install the Cinnamon, then I install the extra packages depending on my needs, because I like to customize it and I do not want to bloat it. So for that I will be only installing the Cinnamon for the time being. I'm gonna type sudo pacman s cinnamon, hit enter, y, enter. GTK greeter settings, Litium GTK greeter settings, y, enter. Okay, so now we need to enable this. So for that, first I'm gonna type system serial enable Litium. Once it is enabled, the next thing you need to do is to start it. For that, I'm gonna type system serial star Litium, and hopefully this will take us into the Cinnamon desktop. Alright, we have a very bare bone Cinnamon desktop. It's gonna be very basic. So let's see what is working and what's not. Alright, so currently you're seeing the black screen because I am using HDMI, so I have to share the display through HDMI. Just give me a moment. Let me go to the settings, display settings, and then I'm gonna click on mirror, apply. Now you will be able to see. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep the changes. Alright guys, we have successfully installed the Arch Linux, and let me open up the terminal. Okay, so we don't have terminal, so we have to install the GNOME terminal. So I should have done that. This is a mistake on my part. I thought some sort of a terminal will be included. However, we can still do that. No worries, we can just use TTY. Just give me a moment. To fix this, I'm gonna press Ctrl Alt F3, and it's gonna take me to this screen TTY. I'm gonna log in as root. You can log in as your user. Pacman. I'm gonna install GNOME terminal. Let's reboot. Alright guys, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, hit the subscribe button and also press the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. I will see you in the next one. Bye.